Good morning, everyone. Today's speaker, I'm happy to present Reverend Onryu Kennedy. She's received transmission in both Katagiri and Uchiyama Roshi lineages. She's attended practice periods in Japan at Toshoji and Tassajara, and she's done her Shuso training at Toshoji and completed zuise a couple years ago. And she's also one of the few Kokusaifukuyoshis in the United States of America. And that actually you have to go through a lot of procedures to make that happen. And I was happy to be able to support Onryu in giving that prestigious title, even though most of us don't know how to pronounce it. But anyway, still, it was a great accomplishment. So she's valued social justice work as an expression of her vow. She's currently an associate teacher of Hokyoji Zen Practice Community. She experiences great joy in the opportunity to learn and teach Buddhist practices. So, Onryu, I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you, Dokai. I appreciate your introduction and the lightness that you bring into this space. Thank you. I just want to say good morning, everybody. It's great to see your radiating faces on this Sunday morning, wherever you are in space and time. I would like to, I have a practice of acknowledging Buddhas and ancestors for their great compassion in sharing the Dharma with all of us, all beings and all things, sentient and non-sentient. I acknowledge the Dakota and Anishinaabe nations for their great care and stewardship of this place. And I offer great gratitude for family and friends who support us in this ancient way. I also want to acknowledge that we are living in precarious times, and many communities have been living in this space of high stress and high intensity for a long time. Indigenous, Black, and people of color, trans and LGBTQ folks have been experiencing many stressful and high intensity situations for a long time. And recently, I feel that many of us are now included in those experiences. As part of preparation for this talk, I was listening to talks by Krishnamurti and David Bowen. And one of the things that I was struck with is that these talks were, I think, some of them were in the late 60s, some of them were in the 80s. But what I was struck with is that they too were talking about the commodification and the separateness of people in relationship to each other and to the natural world. And I'll talk about that more in later on. And one of the questions that I have had is, does Zen practice offer an antidote to these experiences and to this precarious time? And for me, it does. And I would just like to offer some of my thoughts on that. The other practice that I'm cultivating is my use of language. Sometimes language can be triggering and create misunderstandings. So I just want to voice my commitment publicly that I am practicing with language and committed to articulating in a less binary way, in a more detailed, fuller way. I've often been, it's often been pointed out to me that I am lacking in detail, and sometimes I'm often pithy. So, and that's not always conducive to creating understanding. And oftentimes it creates, dare I say, conflict. So the practice is, our practice is individual and is connected to the larger community. It ripples out to include the world. The transformation of the individual, my transformation, is connected to the transformation of the community, and the transformation of the community is connected to the individual. We are connected and entangled in ways that are known and ways that are unknown. And as we can continue, I want to share that I am deeply grateful to the Hokyoji community. And as Dokai said, that he participated in my ability to receive the title of, they call it the missionary of for Japanese Sotochu Zen teaching. And I want to acknowledge that I deeply appreciate Dokai and all of you and all of the larger community inviting me in to share these practices and to share these teachings. Without your support, I would not be here. And as we continue to open up the community circle, I invite you and all of us to please continue to show your support to the next generation through your presence. This fall, several practitioners will be sharing their expression of the teaching through offering Dharma talks. To me, and I think for Hokyoji, this is very exciting to bring forward the next generation. And that doesn't negate I'm a boomer, I acknowledge that. And I want to acknowledge the silent generation as well. Hokyoji has been experiencing great generosity from elders. And in no way do I want to minimize the great contributions that practitioners of the past and currently have made on behalf of Hokyoji. And it's exciting to invite the next generation into this circle in a very public way, because offering Dharma talks and beginning to co-facilitate classes is a more public and a more actively sharing the Dharma. So please continue to show up as you have been for all beings, including the next generation. In the fall, we're going to be studying receiving the marrow by bowing. And if you have space and time, please join us at any point. I want to acknowledge too that I have been listening to Linda Ruth Cutts and Shihako Okamura Roshi and studying this fascicle. And I also just touched on it a little bit earlier this year in the winter practice period. It's really, for me, a beautiful fascicle because it's like a diamond. And this diamond, as diamonds do, they have innumerable sides where the light permeates and displays multiple colors. And this is, there is many multiple activities that Dogen brings forth in this fascicle. And the two that I would like to uplift is interconnectedness and the practice of bowing. And just briefly, Dogen went to China in 1223 through 1227. And through this experience of going to China, he saw women were abbesses in temples and leading temples in various leadership positions, as well as being major donors. So this fascicle comes out from that experience in relationship to his experience of in Japan in relationship to women in leadership positions. The other thing that really was alive for me in preparing for this talk is the Four Noble Truths, that Buddha taught. And I don't know, there are just some times I think that certain teachings resonate. I don't know if you find this or not, but certain teachings just resonate and align with conditions that I am directly experiencing at this time. And the first, just briefly, is the noble truth of suffering. There's an unsatisfactoriness in life that it shouldn't be this way. There's not enough, just a lot of angst around the conditions that one is faced with. The second is there is a cause of suffering, and that Buddha speaks to clinging and craving and aversion. And I don't know if you can relate to this, but I find myself clinging to ways that I think it should be, in ways that how I can fix this. And then the third is cessation of suffering. The developing, when I hear this third noble truth, what I hear is developing the capacity to be with what is, and open, as Uchiyama Roshi would say, open the hand of thought. What would happen if I were to be with what is? And the fourth is there is a path to end suffering, and that's the Eightfold Path. And today, what underlies for me is the first way, and that is right view. And I'm a little uncomfortable with right view because if something's right, that means something is wrong. And that's true too. But my preference, if it's okay, I do have preferences. I'm not self-realized. I apologize. I'm working on it. But one of the things that the way I pivot right view is wise view or wholesome view. And the Buddha taught that teaching the middle way, because that exists, or because that exists, this exists, because this arises, that arises. So these conditions don't come out of nowhere. Uchiyama Roshi writes, it means that all concrete entities occur in accordance with various conditions, that they always happen based on conditions and are never apart from such factors. And all abstract entities have meaning because of their mutual relations. We are connected, whether we want to be or not. Accordingly, what is being said here is that there are no independent, substantial entities. That is, no things exist by themselves. We are intimately connected with each other, with all beings and all things. And I'll get more into that later too. It's in that spirit that I want to talk about. There are two koans in this fascicle. And I want to talk about the koan, the story of Miaoshin. And later on, I will speak to the practice of bowing, including Katagiri Roshi's view on this practice. It's not clear where Dogen heard or found the story of Miaoshin. It doesn't matter to me because it is a great story. Miaoshin was a disciple of Yangshan. Yangshan was one of the Zen masters in Song Dynasty. Yangshan was needing someone to be the director of the guest house at the foot of the temple. So the guest house was below, at the foot of the mountain, and the temple was at the top of the mountain. So Yangshan asked the community who they would recommend. Everyone agreed that Miaoshin, because of her great resolve and determination, would be suited to serve the community in this position. During her service in this position, a group of 17 monks showed up at the guest house on their way to the temple to visit the master, Yangshan. They were sitting around in a relaxed way with their rakusus on, and were discussing the koan story about the wind and the flag of Wei Nun, our sixth ancestor. Miaoshin felt that their interpretations, she was listening to their discussion, and she felt that their interpretations were all wrong. She said to her attendant, "How wasteful, How many pairs of straw sandals have these 17 blind donkeys worn out? They haven't even dreamed of the Buddha Dharma. She was rugged in a good way, compassionate. My story. Her assistant reported to the monks that Miaoshan did not approve of their understanding. The monks did not get upset with her disapproval. Instead, felt ashamed for their lack of understanding. The monks took care of themselves to clean and show up in a formal way. They offered incense, bowed, and asked for her teaching. Miaoshan said, "Come closer." When the 17 monks were getting close, Miaoshan said, "It is not the wind that flaps. It is not the flag that flaps. It is not the mind that flaps." Miaoshan further turns the pivotal moment. Hearing her words, all 17 monks had realization. They thanked her and became her students. Soon they left the guest house without climbing up to the monastery to visit the master, Yongshan. Momon's commentary, and this is in the Gateless Gate, case 29, Not the Wind, Not the Flag. In Momon's commentary, he writes, "It is not the wind that moves. It is not the flag that moves. It is not the mind that moves." Shihako Okamura Roshi states, "It's the entire universe moving." That's happening all the time. The entire universe is happening right now. The entire universe is moving. I'm a part of it. You're a part of it. We're all connected in this movement together. When I think I am not included and I am separate, that separation is the place of violence for me. I have separated the moment into subject, object, to me and them, to you and I. In this separation, suffering arises and conflict emerges. And the mind begins to defend itself. Clinging to my sense of self, habit patterns emerge, and I am responding out of karmic consciousness. I'm not responding out of awareness. What happens if I pause and face this suffering, attend to the suffering with compassion, pivoting the clinging and relaxing the habit pattern? As Dogen Zenji states in the Fukaza Zengi, learn the backward step that turns the light inwardly to illuminate yourself. Zazen is the light that has the quality of a laser beam shining into habit patterns and illuminating consciousness. This is our practice. This illumination brings into awareness what is actually happening in the mind. I stop making shit up. If I can use that word, it's true for me. The feelings, thoughts, and sensations arising in this moment, the self can see itself and release itself from itself. Habit patterns can dissipate and disappear. Staying with what is, learning about oneself, knowing oneself in this moment. In Zazen, the invitation is to stay in uncertainty, to have no fixed ideas or views. This includes not having fixed ideas on how I can fix me, how I can fix others, and how I can fix the world. It is difficult to be compassionate if I am attached to a particular view or idea. Also, isn't it self-centered of me to think and feel in this way that I need to be fixed, you need to be fixed, the world needs to be fixed? And I know how to do it. That's delusion. It's wickedly crazy. And yet, I've been there. Can I hold the tension of uncertainty and the need for certainty with equanimity? This too is a place of practice, bearing witness to impermanence in real time and being present, attending to what is actually arising without fabrication and projection. It's not easy. In these moments, we are surrounded by uncertainty. And yet, if I might say this, what a wonderful opportunity to practice with equanimity and uncertainty, meeting the moment with freshness. And I understand, easier said than done. This offers the possibility of peace in connection to myself, all beings, and all things. This is very important to me. It is not possible to achieve peace in struggling with separateness and certainty. Suffering is shared by all of humanity as well as joy. All beings have the desire to live in their way. To me, this trying to achieve peace in separateness is something that just kind of like was an aha moment for me. I mean, it should be, it should like be logical. How can I, with this consciousness of separateness and conflict, with this same consciousness, how can I achieve peace? It's not possible. So pivoting that separateness and connecting connecting with myself in those moments. So I have the ability to connect with what is before me. What are these conditions that are before me? What are the people? What are the beings that are before me? In developing that capacity. So how do I practice this? Well, I do meditate. And earlier this year, I've been focused on getting my physical health back. And I've been doing a lot of walking on the river road and by the river. And these walks are a great source of joy for me. And I also have a lot of plants, and I have water containers outside of my patio that the birds and the bees drink from. And I also recently started having this practice of waving and saying good morning to strangers or people who I consider strangers. And it's been awesome. I mean, there are times when I'm like, I don't know if I can do this, but I do it anyway, because I'm like, people respond. And then I respond, and then the whole world is responding in a very beautiful way. And the other day, a couple days ago, I was at the river, and this young black man asked this white guy for a lighter to light his, look like a cigar. And the white guy said, I don't have a lighter, I'm sorry. And I often go to the river to sit, and I chant with my mala beads, and I had my mala beads, and I had a lighter in the car, and I overheard it, and I was like, just do it. You have the lighter in your car, share it. So I went to my car, got the lighter, and I went down the hill where he was fishing, and I said, excuse me, I said, I did dip into your conversation, and I do have a lighter. It was like, oh, that's so cool. And so he lit his cigar, and then I went back, and then pretty soon he comes running up the hill, and he says, can I use your lighter again? It went out. And I was like, sure. And I had my mala beads with me because I was sitting there. And he goes, what kind of necklace is that? I said, oh, they're mala beads. He goes, are you a Christian? I said, no, I'm a Buddhist. And he goes, oh, I'm a Baptist, but I don't believe in God. I started laughing. I said, neither do I. It was just a cool interaction. I mean, so it's like, I just share that with you because even in the midst of the dangers and the horrors, the human connection and the connection with all beings it's quite lovely, and it's an antidote. I find it to be an antidote. So I just share that with you because this to me is like Endra's net. All the nodes are reflecting in each other and all the other nodes connected through space and time. There are no objects. All nodes are connected to each and all the other nodes. This is the manifestation of Endra's net. Okay, I want to take just 10 minutes because I do want to open it up for any questions or comments that people may have. I want to just touch into the practice of bowing. And I know this isn't for everybody. I understand that. And there's a beautiful commentary by Reverend, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, Heng. Sure. He wrote a kind of a commentary on bowing. It's really quite scholarly too. And it's called Cleansing the Heart, Buddhist Bowing as a Contemplation. And I know that bowing has the potential to bring forward a lot of different thoughts and feelings, and I want to be respectful of that. Judith Leaf, he quoted her in this article, and I think it's worth bringing forward. She suggests that the reason why Westerners find bowing difficult are complex. As Westerners, we tend to think of prostrating as a gesture of defeat or abasement. We think that to show someone else respect is to make ourselves less. Prostrating irritates our sense of democracy, that everyone is equal. On one hand, we want to receive the teaching, but on the other, we don't really want to bow down to anyone or anything. Yeah. And in this article, Norman Fisher Roshi tells a story when he was first visiting San Francisco Zen Center. Excuse me. He was told by Katagiri Roshi to make full prostrations towards the Buddha image on the altar. He asked Katagiri Roshi, "Why do we bow?" Katagiri Roshi showed him a tiny image of the Buddha bowing to the ground. If he can do it, you can do it. Katagiri Roshi explained that bowing is mutual, just one bow, bowing back and forth. Katagiri Roshi had the following bowing verse. It is believed that Dogen Zenji's teacher, Ryujing, gave Dogen a bowing verse. And Katagiri Roshi has this verse on bowing. And I'd like to read it. It's quite beautiful. Bower in what is bowed, to are empty by nature. The bodies of oneself and other are not two. I bow with all beings to attain liberation, to manifest the unsurpassed mind and return to boundless truth. Bowing is the aim. Calmness in the activity is the aspiration. For me, finding the middle way in this devotional practice of bowing is important. Releasing from egocentricity, from objectification, and relating subject to subject. The articulation of bowing is horizontal, not vertical, using this body and mind to embody the aspiration of peace. And I would like to end with something that Shantideva wrote. Shantideva was a 7th century Indian monk, and he wrote classical on the Bodhisattva way and talked a lot about bodhicitta. This is what he wrote. All the joy the world contained has come through wishing happiness for others, while all the misery the world contains has come from wanting to please for oneself alone. Thank you. Thank you for your attention and your presence. And I just want to invite you, please bring your voices into the circle. Any comments, reflections, questions are awesome and well received. John.
So to just tell you a little, this is at least a 40-year-old little, very tiny story, but I was at MZMC just about 40 years ago when Roshi was there. And it was after probably back in the day, it was a Saturday Dharma talk. And, after the Dharma talk, there was tea and, chatting and whatever. And I was just talking to this one woman who I didn't know, but she was there and we were just chatting for a minute. And she said, for some reason, she said, the other day I saw Roshi and I walked up to him and said, Roshi, why do we bow? I mean, why do we bow? And she said, all he said to her was, you bow to show respect for yourself. Period. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful. Dokai, hi.
Hello. Yeah, just one comment. One scholar who I deeply appreciate these days is a person named Glenn Wallace, and he looks very closely at, well, you mentioned language, using language very carefully. So he's a scholar who goes back and looks at language and how these sutras have been translated. And you had mentioned that you had some reservations about right speech, right action, whatever, as opposed to does that mean there's wrong? If we say right, because that's essentially what comes up, at least in our Western minds. And he says, well, you can use right as long as the meaning is like a sailboat is righted. It becomes, straightens itself out, so it can sail. And we use that term, a sailboat rights itself or something. And he said in that way, we can use right for right speech, right action. But he thinks a better word is sound action, sound speech. Like, okay, it's grounded in some place where we all agree that the sound is okay. You know what I mean? Like we hear this, it's almost like when I think about it, I haven't even thought about it like this before, but sometimes the sound of things is like more reassuring than anything else. I'm just making this up as I'm talking right now. But so if it's sound speech, it's speech that, feels steady and grounded, and we can appreciate that. So that's how he interprets it. And then the other, I'll just throw this one out there too. When he says the Four Noble Truths, he doesn't translate them as Four Noble Truths. The wording's more complicated, but the language is. But if you think about it, and this is his thinking too, it says, well, what does that mean? Four Noble Truths. It's like, it kind of comes out of an archaic time when there was nobility, and you didn't question anything, about what, the nobles had to say. And so he never resonated very well with Four Noble Truths. But he does call them the Four Preeminent Realities. So it's not very poetic, but for me, it actually, it's just, this is a reality, and I had to look up preeminent. It's like, well, there's just no discussion about this. This is how it is, so that's kind of how I operate from the preeminent reality of suffering or unease for human beings. Sorry, we're born into this. We didn't really have a choice, but there's going to be unease, if we're born into this human world, Yeah, sorry. That's just what it's a preeminent reality. that's that's all. And then of course the other ones too are he agrees with, he falls in the line. Well, the other, how is this discomfort created? And it's by craving. We have, and that's our natural condition. That's what we're born with, to crave and cling. But it's just a reality we all have to face. And so anyway, that's just a little comment you were that I
Thank
thought
you.
I'd chime in with. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mary.
Thank you, Gentle Dragon, for your Dharma talk. I do have a question. It's really a struggle for me. And you brought up, bringing forward the next generation. And so important. And I don't know, comment on what our digital age is doing right now in terms of our suffering as humans. It's bad.
I hear you.
At least in other times, people had to just they lived in villages, they lived in small communities. You'd get the newspaper at your door and you listen to one person telling the news. We are just upside down. I can't even, it's hard to even grasp what's happening with humans.
Upside down. Thank you. Thank you for the question. It's very deep and it's very boundless. You're upside down, right? Reminds me of the jewel mirror samadhi. People taking black for white. And when the thinking mind naturally accords, right? There is that possibility to stop inverted thinking or upside down ways of being. And I don't have the answer. And I have the same question. And recently I've been thinking, this might sound a little crazy, but I've been thinking, am I really thinking this from my consciousness, or is this something that I've been conditioned through the algorithms, through it being embedded in the media, everywhere I go? What am I really thinking about this particular situation? What am I really beyond my habit patterns? These are very alive questions for me. And social, or the digital age. I feel that for me, with the practice of meditation, at least I have a chance to see my conditioned thinking, my conditioned feeling, my conditioned perceptions, and slowly deconstruct them to my capacity and show up in a way where to my capacity, I'm not contributing to the harm of myself, the harm of the natural world, the harm that others are experiencing, because I'm not separate. So this I'm not separate to me is really an important place of inquiry for me. And I'm sorry, I have the same question that you have. And maybe together, all of us can have a way through this maze, through this inverted thinking, through this upside down way of being. Because we're in this together. And the other thing, I feel like the hierarchy, it's not working. The leadership, bless the leadership, they don't have the answers. It's too complicated. It's too complex. It behooves all of us to be part of what's happening to our capacity, because we are all part of this inquiry that is very precarious right now. But we all have gifts to offer, not just the people at the top of the pyramid. All of us do. So thank you. Thank you for your question. And I'm sorry I don't have an answer.
Well, first, and I recognize that there's not a lot of time left, but let me just say that I am very grateful for your acknowledging the stress of the LGBTQ plus and trans communities. There was a time when I felt like the stress was greatly reduced and the future was looking good for us. Now I'm not so sure. And so it's troubling to me about that, especially for the trans people. They really are going to have some difficulties in the next 3.5 years, I think, if not longer. So at one point you said the self can separate itself from the self, and then I got lost, or I missed. So if you could just kind of go over that again, just really quick, then I would appreciate that.
Okay. I think, did I say this? Is this the part that you're referring to? And I just want to say that I and people here, we have your backs. We have your backs, and we will be with you. We will not abandon you to our capacity. So thank you. So is this what I was referring to? What you're referring to is when I think I'm not included and am separate, the separation is a place of violence. I have separated the moment into subject, object, me and not me, other than me. Suffering arises and conflict emerges. Am I on track, Yonan?
Oh dear. Being conscious of the awareness of what's actually happening in the mind, the self can separate itself from itself.
Right, exactly. Oh, okay. Yes. This illumination brings into awareness what is actually happening in the mind. So it's the illumination of meditation, or however the mind can be illuminated in this moment. The feelings, thoughts, and sensations arising in this moment. The self can see itself and release itself from itself. Habit patterns can dissipate.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ryushin. Hi.
Hi. I
Good to
have
see you.
I have one quick bowing story and one longer bowing story that I'll try to be brief. So Suzuki Roshi, I'm told this is a story about Suzuki Roshi. People were grumbling about bowing in the morning at San Francisco Zen Center, and they said, "Why do we have to do 3 bows?" And Suzuki Roshi said, "Well, okay, 9 bows then."
That's true. That's a true story.
Okay. So the other story is the altar at MZMC at one time, a vase cracked and water leaked down and stained the grass cloth under the mantle. And Sandy and I took this community course on wallpaper, so we thought we knew what we were doing. So we volunteered to fix all that. Well, it turns out that grass cloth is different from all other wallpapers. All other wallpapers you want to soak so that they relax and expand to their size. Grass cloth, if you soak it, it separates from the backing. So we were in there on a Sunday doing this and finding out that we didn't know what we were doing and the whole thing was a mess. And Katagiri Roshi came into the building, and he came into the building, and he came into the zendo where we were working, and he took a step and he bowed with great respect and thanking us. And it's like, I didn't want him there. I didn't want him to see that we had made such a mess of this because we didn't know what we were doing. And then he took another step and he bowed with great respect and gratitude. And it's like, and then he took another step and another step. And I just didn't want him there at all. But it was quite a moment. It was quite a moment to see just who he was in that bowing. And we did find some paint in the basement, and we did manage to figure out how to fix up the altar so it didn't look like it was a complete mess. And then the next weekend we fixed it up correctly. But that whole bowing thing really stuck with me. I haven't told that story very often, but it was really a very touching moment, I think, with Katagiri Roshi.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that story. So I just want to say thank you, everybody. I really appreciate your presence. I appreciate the questions and the reflections in the stories around Katagiri Roshi. So I think we'll close with the 4 vows. Dokai, do you lead that?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
As GD was saying, there's an online study group going to be beginning in October. I think it's the 13th. And you're going to be studying this festival, correct? So this is
Correct.
maybe a little introduction to that study group in a certain kind of way. So please consider joining that class. Is it a 4-week class, GD, or 6?
Yeah.
Or?
It's a 4-week class, and it'll be co-facilitated by myself and the next generation.
Okay.
So,
all right. How
what an
about that?
opportunity.
All right. And then in November, we have a Vipassana and Zen retreat to practicing the ways with, I think, with GD and Patrice, right? Patrice Kosh. Can you say that?
College.
Kosh? Okay. All right. And then we have a Rohatsu session beginning on December 1st. And next week's speaker is Kyoku Whalen. And it's just a little closing comment regarding kind of Mary's question. I think most of you know Henry Panowich. He's like 10 years older than me. And he tells this story that when he was a boy, the way they got the information was by a town crier. So, I mean, it's like, what a different kind of world that would be. But then I was thinking, well, was this town crier, was he Republican or was he Democrat? I mean, it's like, I mean, you're getting that this is the only information you're getting, so is it going to be skewed one way about, oh, this is what this guy did today? And I don't think the information was like from Africa or something like that. It's just, so anyway, I just started thinking about how that would be such a different world to live in.
I do want to say one thing too that came to my mind's eye regarding the next generation and the digital age. The next generation, many of them have grown up with the digital age and really know how to use that as a tool potentially that can benefit the world in which we're currently living in. I mean, and I don't want to say much more because it's something that I'm just starting to study a little bit about, but there are people who are really using the digital age and AI in a way that is beneficial, potentially, and helpful because they're in relationship to AI. It's not a thing. So I just offer that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so why don't we, I did say next week's speaker was Kyoku, right? I said that already. Okay. So let us close then with the 4 vows. Beings are numberless, I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible, I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless, I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable, I vow to realize it. Thank you all for joining us today, and I hope you have a good week. And
Thank you.
see you
Thank
next week.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Everyone.
Bye-bye.